The evening sun was already setting as Andre pulled into the parking lot of Westside Market. His muscles ached from the intense training session he'd just finished at Big City Fight Club, where he'd spent the last 3 hours working on his ground game. At 32, Andre was finally making a name for himself in the regional MMA circuit, with 4 straight wins and whispers of bigger promotions taking notice. Today had been particularly grueling. His coach had pushed him harder than usual, preparing him for an upcoming fight that could change everything. Andre's body was tired, but his mind was still sharp, running through the combinations they'd practiced as he grabbed a shopping basket and headed into the store. Just the basics tonight, he mumbled to himself, pulling a crumpled shopping list from the pocket of his black hoodie. Chicken breasts, brown rice, sweet potatoes, and enough vegetables to last the week. The life of a fighter wasn't glamorous, especially one still climbing the ranks. Every meal was calculated, every ingredient chosen with purpose. The fluorescent lights of the grocery store felt harsh after the dimness of the evening outside. Andre nodded politely to the elderly security guard who sat near the entrance, half asleep in his chair. The store wasn't crowded, just a few evening shoppers gathering last-minute items for dinner. Soft music played through crackling speakers, barely audible over the beeping of checkout scanners. Andre moved through the aisles with purpose, his large frame navigating around other shoppers who sometimes did a double-take when they recognized him from local fight posters or news coverage. He'd gotten used to the looks, some of admiration, others of uncertainty when they saw a 6'2" black man with the physique that came from years of disciplined training. He'd learned long ago to make himself appear less intimidating when needed, a skill that didn't come naturally but was necessary in a world that often judged him before knowing him. In the produce section, Andre carefully selected sweet potatoes, checking each one for firmness. His diet was strict. His coach and nutritionist made sure of that. As he moved toward the leafy greens, he became aware of voices rising above the store's ambient noise. At first, he tried to ignore it, focused on finding the freshest spinach available. But something in the tone made him look up. 3 young men, probably in their early 20s, had formed a loose semicircle around a woman and her young daughter near the apples. The woman, who appeared to be in her mid-30s with warm brown skin and curly hair pulled back in a practical ponytail, was trying to shop while keeping her daughter close. The little girl, no more than 7 years old, clutched a small stuffed rabbit and stayed pressed against her mother's leg. "Come on, we're just being friendly," one of the men said, his voice carrying across the produce section. He was tall and lanky, with a baseball cap turned backward and a smirk that didn't match his words. "Why don't you let us help you with your shopping?" The woman kept her eyes down, trying to reach past them for a bag of apples. "No, thank you. We're fine." Her voice was steady but tight with tension. "Don't be like that," another one chimed in, shifting to block her path to the checkout. This one was shorter but stockier, with a faded tattoo visible on his neck. "We've seen you here before. Single mom, right? Bet you could use some company." The third man, heavier than the others with a patchy beard, laughed too loudly. "Yeah, your kid needs a father figure, don't she?" He leaned down toward the little girl, who turned her face away and gripped her mother's pants tighter. The woman's shoulders stiffened. "Please move. We just want to finish our shopping." She tried to maneuver her cart around them, but they shifted again, creating a barrier between her and the rest of the store. Other shoppers noticed what was happening. An older couple quickly turned their cart down another aisle. A teenage clerk stocking shelves nearby looked uncomfortable but didn't approach. A middle-aged man paused, frowned, then continued toward the dairy section, shaking his head. Andre saw it all unfold from where he stood, still holding a bunch of spinach. The scene triggered something deep in his memory, his own mother facing similar situations when he was a child. The times when men would corner her in public places, thinking a woman alone with her son was somehow an invitation. He remembered the tight smile she would wear, the grip of her hand on his small shoulder, the quickened pace of their steps afterward. The little girl looked around the store with wide eyes, seeking help from the adults who were all suddenly very interested in their shopping lists. Something in her expression, a mixture of fear and confusion about why no one would help, made Andre set down his basket on a nearby display. Andre wasn't looking for trouble. His coach had warned him countless times about avoiding confrontation outside the ring. "Your hands are registered weapons now," he'd say, only half joking. "One street fight? One moment of lost temper could end his career before it truly began. He had a fight coming up in 3 weeks, the most important of his career so far. But some situations demanded action. He took a breath and rolled his shoulders back, not to appear more threatening, but to release the tension that had suddenly gathered there. The woman was now trying to back her cart away, but one of the men had placed his hand on the edge of it. "Maybe we should continue this conversation outside," the one with the backward cap suggested, lowering his voice but not enough that Andre couldn't hear him. The woman's face paled slightly. The little girl spotted Andre watching them and stared at him with a direct gaze that held a simple question. "Are you going to help us?" Andre had grown up without many heroes in his life. His mother had been both mom and dad, working 2 jobs to keep food on the table after his father left. She'd taught him that strength wasn't about intimidating others, but about standing up when it mattered, about being the person you needed when you were younger. He moved forward, not rushing, but with clear purpose. His approach was calm, measured, the same way he entered the octagon before a fight. The men were so focused on the woman that they didn't notice him until he was nearly beside them. "Excuse me," Andre said, his voice deep but controlled. He'd learned that he rarely needed to raise his voice to be heard. "I think these folks are trying to finish their shopping." All 3 men turned toward him, their expressions shifting as they took in his size and build. The confidence that had been so evident moments before flickered briefly. "Mind your business, man," said the one with the neck tattoo, though he took a small step back. "We're just having a friendly conversation." The woman looked at Andre, relief and worry battling in her expression. "We were just leaving," she said quietly, trying once more to move her cart. "I don't think they want to talk with you," Andre said, positioning himself slightly between the men and the woman's cart. "How about you let them get on with their day?" The one with the baseball cap sized Andre up more carefully now, taking in the fighter's calloused hands and the subtle scar tissue around his eyebrows that told stories of previous battles. Recognition dawned on his face. "Wait, I know you. You're that fighter. The one who knocked out Big Mike at Battleground 53. His tone changed, a mixture of respect and wariness creeping in. Andre didn't confirm or deny it. His fighting career wasn't relevant to the moment. What mattered was that the woman and her daughter needed space, and these men needed to back off. The little girl was watching him now, the stuffed rabbit clutched tightly against her chest. Her eyes were wide, taking in everything, learning something about the world and the people in it, learning who would stand up and who would walk away. Andre knew that these moments stayed with children. They became the stories that shaped how they saw the world. "Look," Andre said, keeping his voice reasonable. "It's been a long day for everyone. Why don't we all just finish our shopping peacefully?" It wasn't a suggestion despite his measured tone. The atmosphere in the produce section hung in balance. Other shoppers had stopped to watch now, sensing the tension. The sleepy security guard at the front had finally noticed something happening and was slowly making his way over, radio in hand. The men exchanged glances, calculating their options. 3 against 1 would normally be favorable odds, but the one fighter they'd come to recognize clearly wasn't an ordinary opponent. For Andre, time seemed to slow slightly, just as it did in the ring. He was aware of everything. The little girl's rapid breathing, the mother's white-knuckled grip on her shopping cart, the shifting stance of the 3 men as they decided what to do next. He remained perfectly still, centered and ready, not aggressive but unmovable. The weight of the moment pressed down on everyone involved. What happened next would determine far more than just who got to finish their grocery shopping in peace. It would show what kind of community existed in this store, on this evening, in this neighborhood. It would show what kind of man Andre truly was, both inside and outside the ring. The tension in the produce section seemed to stretch time itself. Andre stood firm, his presence creating a shield between the 3 men and the mother and her daughter. His mind raced back 20 years to when he was that small child, hiding behind his mother's legs while strangers made her uncomfortable. The familiar burn of those memories fueled his resolve. "We're just having some fun," said the man with the patchy beard, his voice losing some of its earlier confidence. "No need to make this a big deal." Andre noticed the woman's shoulders relax slightly now that attention had shifted away from her. The little girl peeked out from behind her mother, still clutching her stuffed rabbit, her wide eyes moving between the men and Andre. "I get it," Andre replied, his voice level and calm. But sometimes what feels like fun to one person doesn't feel that way to another. He gestured subtly toward the child. Especially when there are little ones around. The elderly security guard was now making his way through the produce section, moving with the unhurried pace of someone who hadn't faced real trouble in years. Andre knew the guard wouldn't be much help if things escalated, but his approach gave everyone a moment to reconsider their choices. The man with the backward cap sighed dramatically. "Whatever, man. We weren't doing anything wrong." His eyes narrowed slightly. "But I'm not looking to mess with someone who fights professionally. That's just stupid." Andre didn't acknowledge the comment about his fighting career. Instead, he took a small step to the side, opening a path for the woman to move her cart past the men. "Ma'am, I think the checkout lines are pretty short right now if you're ready." The woman gave him a grateful nod, her eyes meeting his briefly. "Thank you," she said quietly, guiding her cart forward. Her daughter stayed close, one hand holding onto her mother's jacket, the other still gripping the rabbit. As they moved past, the man with the neck tattoo reached out as if to touch the cart, but stopped when Andre shifted his weight slightly. "Let them go," Andre said softly. Not a threat, just a simple request wrapped in the unmistakable confidence of someone who knew exactly what he was capable of. The three men exchanged glances, a silent conversation passing between them. The calculus was simple. Whatever satisfaction they might get from continuing to harass the woman wasn't worth tangling with someone like Andre. One by one, they backed down. "This place sucks anyway," said the one with the baseball cap, trying to save face. "Let's hit the convenience store instead." They moved off, muttering among themselves, throwing occasional glances back at Andre. He remained where he was until they had exited through the automatic doors, the evening darkness swallowing them. Only then did Andre feel his heartbeat steady but strong in his chest. His coach's words echoed in his mind. The most important fights are the ones you avoid. Today, he'd managed to defuse the situation without it becoming physical, but the outcome could have been different. 3 against 1 were bad odds even for him, and a street fight could have derailed everything he'd worked for. The security guard finally reached him, slightly out of breath. "Everything okay here?" he asked, looking toward the doors where the men had disappeared. "All good now," Andre replied. "Just a misunderstanding." The guard nodded, seemingly relieved that whatever problem had existed was now gone. "Thanks for stepping in. Those guys have been trouble before." He patted Andre awkwardly on the shoulder before shuffling back toward his post at the front of the store. Andre returned to his abandoned basket, checking his phone. The entire confrontation had taken less than 5 minutes, though it felt much longer. He still needed to finish his shopping and get home to prep his meals for the next few days. His routine was important, especially with the fight coming up. As he picked up his basket, he noticed the woman was still at the checkout line, the little girl now sitting in the cart as items were scanned. He couldn't help but wonder how often they had to deal with situations like this. How many times had they been made to feel uncomfortable or unsafe while just trying to go about their day? Andre moved through the aisles, gathering the rest of his items, but his mind kept returning to the confrontation. He thought about his mother, how she'd worked so hard to give him a good life, how she'd faced similar harassment when he was young. He remembered the helpless anger he'd felt as a child, unable to protect her. By the time he reached the checkout, the woman and her daughter were just finishing up. The cashier was helping them bag their groceries while the little girl swung her legs from her perch in the cart. "Rabbit wants to say thank you," a small voice said as Andre lined up behind them. He looked up to find the little girl holding out her stuffed toy toward him, her expression solemn. "Lily?" her mother said quietly, looking embarrassed. "Let the man be." "It's okay," Andre said with a smile. He gave the rabbit a small fist bump. "Tell Rabbit he's very welcome." The little girl, Lily, smiled, revealing a missing front tooth. "Rabbit says you're very brave." Her mother finished paying and turned toward Andre. Up close, he could see the fatigue around her eyes, but also a quiet strength in the way she carried herself. "Thank you," she said, her voice low but steady. "That happens more often than it should." "Usually I just try to ignore them until they get bored." Andre nodded. "I understand. My mom raised me alone too. I remember how it was. Something passed between them then. a recognition, an understanding that went beyond words. The shared experience of knowing what it meant to be vulnerable in public spaces, to be seen as an easy target. "I'm Nicole," she said. Offering her hand. "Andre," he replied, shaking it briefly. "Are you really a fighter?" Lily asked, her eyes wide with curiosity. Andre chuckled. "I am, but fighting is my job, not how I solve problems." He looked at Nicole. "Those guys hang around here often?" She sighed, pushing her cart toward the exit. "More lately. They work at the auto shop down the street. I try to shop at different times, but with my work schedule and Lily's school, there's only so many options." Andre frowned. It wasn't right that she had to plan her life around avoiding harassment. "Have you talked to the store manager?" "Once," Nicole replied. "He said he'd keep an eye out, but..." She shrugged, the gesture conveying her lack of faith in that promise. Outside, the parking lot was mostly empty, the evening fully settled into darkness now. Street lamps cast pools of yellow light across the asphalt. Andre noticed Nicole scanning the area before heading toward her car, her body language alert in a way that spoke of learned caution. "Which way are you parked?" he asked, gathering his grocery bags. "Over by the cart return," she said, pointing to a blue sedan about halfway across the lot. "Mind if I walk with you?" The question was casual, but they both understood its purpose. Nicole nodded gratefully. "That would be nice, thank you." They walked in companionable silence, Lily chattering to her rabbit about what they would have for dinner. When they reached Nicole's car, she quickly loaded the groceries into the trunk while Andre stood nearby, his presence a deterrent to any potential trouble. "Mommy, can Andre come to dinner?" Lily asked suddenly. "Rabbit says he's hungry too." Nicole looked mortified. "Lily, that's not..." "Another time maybe," Andre said gently, saving her from embarrassment. "I have to get home and prepare for training tomorrow." "Are you going to be on TV?" Lily asked, clearly fascinated by the idea of knowing a real fighter. Andre smiled. "Maybe someday. I have an important fight coming up in a few weeks." "We'll watch for you," Nicole said as she helped Lily into her car seat. "Won't we, Lily?" The little girl nodded enthusiastically. "And Rabbit too." Once Lily was secured in her seat, Nicole turned to Andre. "I don't know how to thank you. Most people just look away." "No thanks needed," Andre said. "Just doing what anyone should do." Nicole gave him a knowing look. "But they don't, do they? That's the problem." She opened her driver's door. "Good luck with your fight. We'll be rooting for you." As they drove away, Lily waved frantically from the back window, the rabbit's paw pressed against the glass beside her hand. Andre waved back, watching until their taillights disappeared around the corner. Walking to his own car, Andre felt a mix of emotions. There was satisfaction at having helped someone, but also anger that his help had been necessary at all. That Nicole and her daughter couldn't simply shop for groceries without being harassed. That the other shoppers had looked away rather than stand up for what was right. He placed his bags in the trunk of his car and sat behind the wheel, not starting the engine immediately. The confrontation kept replaying in his mind. It had been a small moment, really. Just a few minutes out of his day. But for Nicole and Lily, it might have meant much more. Andre thought about his upcoming fight, about the months of training that had gone into preparing for it, about the bigger promotions that might come calling if he won, about his dreams of championship belts and making his mother proud. But tonight he'd been reminded that some of the most important fights happened outside the ring. That sometimes, the real measure of a fighter wasn't in how many opponents they defeated, but in how they used their strength to protect those who needed it. As he started his car and pulled out of the parking lot, Andre made a mental note to talk to his coach about doing some community outreach. Maybe some self-defense classes for single parents and their kids, a way to share what he knew, to help others feel less vulnerable. It was a small idea, but it felt right. After all, true strength wasn't just about what happened in the ring. It was about what you did with that strength when the cameras weren't rolling and there was no crowd to cheer you on. 3 days had passed since the incident at the grocery store. Andre was deep into his training routine, pushing himself harder than ever. The upcoming fight was just over 2 weeks away now, and every session counted. His coach, a stocky former heavyweight with a perpetual 5 o'clock shadow, watched critically as Andre worked the heavy bag. "Your mind's somewhere else today," the coach said, stopping the bag swing with a weathered hand. "What's going on?" Andre paused, breathing hard, sweat dripping from his forehead. Just thinking about something that happened the other day. Girl problems? His coach asked with a knowing smile. Not exactly. Andre unwrapped the tape from his hands, explaining briefly about the grocery store confrontation. His coach listened without interrupting, then nodded slowly. You did the right thing, but be careful about getting involved in other people's business. You've got too much on the line right now. I know, Andre agreed, but I couldn't just walk away. That's what makes you different, his coach said, clapping him on the shoulder. Now hit the showers. We're done for today. Later that evening, Andre found himself pulling into the West Side Market parking lot again. He hadn't planned to come back so soon. His meal prep from Sunday would have lasted until Wednesday at least. But something had drawn him here. Maybe it was curiosity, or maybe it was the lingering feeling that the situation wasn't fully resolved. The same sleepy security guard nodded to him as he entered, this time with a hint of recognition in his eyes. Andre grabbed a basket and wandered through the aisles, not really needing anything specific. He found himself in the produce section, absently picking up an apple and checking it for bruises. Fancy meeting you here. Andre turned to find Nicole standing a few feet away, a shopping list clutched in her hand. She wore scrubs today, light blue with tiny cartoon animals printed on them, suggesting she'd come straight from work. Hey, Andre said, surprised but pleased to see her. No Lily today? She's at her after-school program. I'm just grabbing a few things before picking her up. Nicole's eyes scanned the store briefly, a habit Andre recognized, checking for potential threats. How's the training going? Intense, Andre admitted. Coach thinks I'm distracted. Nicole's expression turned apologetic. Because of what happened here? I'm sorry if that's caused problems for you. Not at all, Andre assured her. If anything, it was a good reminder of why I fight in the first place. They fell into step together, moving through the produce section. The conversation flowed naturally as they shopped, Nicole telling him about her job as a pediatric nurse, Andre sharing stories about his training. It felt surprisingly normal, as if they'd known each other longer than just a few days. Lily hasn't stopped talking about you, Nicole said as they turned down the cereal aisle. She told her entire class about the brave fighter who helped us. Her teacher was quite concerned until I explained. Andre laughed. I hope I didn't get her in trouble. Not at all. Though she's now convinced that you're some kind of superhero. Nicole smiled, reaching for a box of cereal. It's nice, actually. After her dad left, she didn't have many positive male figures to look up to. Before Andre could respond, a familiar voice cut through their conversation. Well, look who it is. The man with the backward baseball cap stood at the end of the aisle, flanked by his two friends from the other day. Their postures were tense, confrontational. Andre instinctively moved slightly in front of Nicole. We're not looking for trouble, Andre said calmly. Just doing some shopping. Funny running into you two together, said the one with the neck tattoo, his tone suggesting he found nothing funny about it at all. Almost like you planned it. Nicole gripped her shopping cart tightly. We should go, she murmured to Andre. No, stay, said the third man, the one with the patchy beard. He blocked the end of the aisle. We were just getting to know each other last time before your bodyguard showed up. Andre felt a familiar calm settling over him, the same focused awareness that came before stepping into the ring. His senses sharpened, taking in every detail, the distance between them, the tension in their shoulders, the way they positioned themselves to block both ends of the aisle. You guys work at the auto shop down the street, right? Andre asked, keeping his voice conversational. Phil's Auto? The question seemed to catch them off guard. The one with the baseball cap narrowed his eyes. Yeah, what about it? Just curious. I've been thinking about getting my car looked at. Andre maintained eye contact, his stance relaxed but ready. What are your names? So I know who to ask for. The three men exchanged glances, confused by the unexpected direction of the conversation. I'm Denny, said baseball cap reluctantly. That's Trevor and Rick. He gestured to neck tattoo and patchy beard respectively. I'm Andre, this is Nicole. Andre took a small step forward, still keeping himself between Nicole and the men. Now that we all know each other, how about we agree to shop in peace? The store's big enough for everyone, Denny scoffed. You think just because you can fight in a cage, you can tell us what to do? I'm not telling anyone what to do, Andre replied evenly. I'm suggesting we all respect each other's space. Trevor, the one with the neck tattoo, moved closer, his body language growing more aggressive. "And what if we don't want to?" Andre remained perfectly still, his voice dropping slightly. "Then we have a problem. And I don't think any of us want problems. Not you guys with your jobs at Phil's. Not me with my fight coming up. And certainly not Nicole, who just wants to get her shopping done and pick up her daughter." The mention of their workplace seemed to give the men pause. Andre pressed the advantage. "Phil's a good guy. I've heard he runs a tight ship. Probably wouldn't be happy to hear his employees are harassing customers at the local grocery store." It was a shot in the dark. Andre had no idea who Phil was or what kind of boss he might be. But the flicker of unease that crossed Denny's face told him he'd hit the mark. "We're just having some fun," Rick muttered, though with less conviction than before. "There are better ways to have fun," Andre said. "Ways that don't involve making people uncomfortable." A tense silence fell over the aisle. Andre could feel Nicole behind him, her breathing quick but controlled. The three men seemed to be weighing their options, the calculation visible on their faces. The moment was broken by the sound of approaching footsteps. The store manager appeared at the end of the aisle, a tall man with thinning hair and a concerned expression. "Is everything okay here?" he asked, looking between the two groups. "Just catching up with some acquaintances," Andre replied smoothly. "No problems." The manager didn't look convinced. "I've had complaints about you three before," he said to Denny and his friends. "If you're not here to shop, I'm going to have to ask you to leave." Denny's jaw tightened, but after a moment he shrugged. "Whatever. This place has crappy prices anyway." He shot a look at Andre. "See you around, fighter boy." The three men sauntered off, their departure lacking the swagger they'd arrived with. The manager watched them go, then turned to Andre and Nicole. "I'm sorry about that," he said. "Those guys have been trouble for a while. I've called the police before, but they're usually gone by the time anyone shows up." "Maybe they need a more permanent ban," Andre suggested. "For the safety of your customers." The manager nodded slowly. "You might be right. I'll talk to the owner." He glanced at Nicole. "Are you okay, ma'am?" "I'm fine," she assured him, though Andre could see her hands trembling slightly on the shopping cart. After the manager left, Nicole let out a long breath. That was intense. They seemed angrier this time. "Probably bruised egos," Andre said, keeping his voice light despite his concern. "Men like that don't like being stood up to." Nicole gave him a searching look. "You handled that really well. You didn't get aggressive or escalate things, but you didn't back down either." Andre shrugged. "Fighting has taught me a lot about conflict. The best fights are the ones you win without throwing a punch." They finished their shopping in companionable silence, both processing what had just happened. At the checkout, Nicole turned to him. "I'm worried they might wait for us in the parking lot," she admitted quietly. Andre had been thinking the same thing. "I'll walk you to your car again," he said. "And maybe we should exchange numbers, just in case." They swapped phones, each entering their contact information. As Andre handed Nicole's phone back, their fingers brushed briefly. "I'm sorry you got dragged into my problem," Nicole said as they walked toward the exit. "It's not your problem," Andre replied firmly. "It's their problem, and now it's the store's problem too, since the manager is involved." Outside, the evening was cool, a light breeze stirring the air. Andre scanned the parking lot carefully. But there was no sign of Denny and his friends. "Looks clear," he said, but stayed alert as they walked to Nicole's car. As she loaded her groceries into the trunk, Nicole looked up at Andre. "You know, you didn't have to get involved again today. You could have just walked away when they showed up." Andre considered this. "I could have," he agreed. "But that's not who I am." "Who are you then, Andre the MMA fighter?" Nicole asked, a small smile playing at the corners of her mouth. Andre thought about his mother, about her struggles and strength, about the upcoming fight and what it meant for his career, about Lily with her stuffed rabbit and missing front tooth. "I'm just someone who believes that strength comes with responsibility," he said finally, "and sometimes that means standing up when others won't." Nicole nodded, understanding in her eyes. "Well, for what it's worth, I'm glad you're that someone." She closed her trunk and turned to face him fully. "Lily and I were going to make tacos tomorrow night. Nothing fancy, but you're welcome to join us, if you want." The invitation caught Andre by surprise, but he found himself smiling. "I'd like that, as long as it fits my training diet. I'm a nurse, remember? I can make it healthy." Nicole laughed, the sound bright in the gathering darkness of the parking lot. Though I can't promise Lily won't try to make you play superheroes after dinner. I think I can handle that, Andre said. Just don't tell my coach I'm breaking training to play superheroes. He's strict about my routine. As Nicole drove away, waving through the window, Andre felt something shift inside him. The confrontation today had been different, not just because he'd faced down 3 men again, but because this time, it hadn't been about proving anything. It had been about protecting someone who was becoming important to him. Walking to his own car, Andre realized that in just a few days, his carefully structured life had become more complicated. And somehow, he didn't mind at all. The smell of spices filled Nicole's small apartment kitchen as Andre chopped bell peppers for the tacos. Through the pass-through window, he could see Lily in the living room, arranging her stuffed animals in a semicircle around the TV. Her rabbit, now known to Andre as Mr. Hoppy, held the place of honor in the center. You're pretty good with a knife, Nicole observed, stirring the ground turkey that was browning in a pan. I thought fighters just punch things. Andre laughed. If you saw what my coach puts in my meal plan, you'd understand. I had to learn to cook or go broke buying pre-made healthy food. It felt strangely comfortable being in Nicole's home, as if they'd known each other much longer than just a few days. The apartment was small but cozy, filled with mismatched furniture that somehow worked together. Photos of Lily at various ages covered one wall, a visual timeline of her childhood. Mommy, is dinner ready yet? Lily appeared in the kitchen doorway, Mr. Hoppy dangling from one hand. Mr. Hoppy says he's starving. 5 more minutes, Nicole promised. Why don't you show Andre your karate moves while you wait? Lily's face lit up. Yes, come see. She grabbed Andre's hand without hesitation, pulling him toward the living room. I'm a yellow belt now. That means I'm really good. Andre allowed himself to be led, giving Nicole an amused look over his shoulder. In the living room, Lily positioned him on the couch and stood in the center of the room. Mr. Hoppy sat carefully aside. First, you bow, she explained seriously, demonstrating with perfect form. That shows respect. Very important, Andre agreed, watching as she moved through a series of basic karate moves, her face a mask of concentration. And this, Lily said, throwing a punch that stopped precisely in midair, is how you keep the bad guys away. Andre nodded approvingly. Excellent control. That's the most important part of any martial art, knowing when to stop. Lily beamed at the praise. My sensei says the same thing. He says we learn to fight so we don't have to fight. Your sensei is very wise, Andre said. That's exactly right. Like when you helped us at the store, Lily continued, dropping her stance and looking at him with curious eyes. You didn't have to punch those mean men. You just talked to them and they went away. Andre was surprised by her perception. That's right. Words can be stronger than fists sometimes. But you could have beaten them up if you wanted to, right? Her eyes were wide with admiration. Lily, Nicole called from the kitchen, her tone carrying a gentle warning. It's okay, Andre assured her, then turned back to Lily. The truth is, fighting should always be the last option, even for professional fighters like me. Lily considered this, her head tilted to one side. But what if they don't listen to words? It was a good question, one that Andre had grappled with himself many times. Then you create distance and find help. Fighting is only for when you have no other choice to keep yourself safe. Dinner's ready, Nicole announced, saving Andre from further philosophical discussions about violence with a 7-year-old. The tacos were delicious. Lean ground turkey seasoned perfectly, fresh vegetables and whole grain tortillas that Nicole assured Andre fit within his training diet. They ate at the small dining table, Lily chattering about school and karate class, occasionally making Mr. Hoppy talk in a squeaky voice that made Andre laugh. It was the most relaxed evening Andre had spent in months. Training had consumed his life for so long that he'd forgotten what it felt like to simply enjoy a meal with good company. So, your big fight is next weekend? Nicole asked as they cleared the dishes after dinner. Lily had gone to take her bath, leaving them alone in the kitchen. Friday night, Andre confirmed. At the downtown arena. Lily and I were thinking of coming to watch. Nicole looked slightly embarrassed. If that wouldn't distract you, I mean. Andre felt something warm spread through his chest. I'd like that a lot, actually. I could leave tickets for you at the box office. You don't have to do that. We can buy them. Please, Andre insisted. It would mean a lot to have you both there. Nicole studied his face for a moment, then nodded. Okay, thank you. A comfortable silence fell between them as they finished cleaning up. Through the wall, they could hear Lily singing in the bathtub, an off-key rendition of a popular song that made them both smile. She really likes you, Nicole said quietly. She doesn't warm up to people that quickly, usually. She's a great kid, Andre replied. You've done an amazing job with her. Nicole leaned against the counter, her expression turning more serious. Can I ask you something? Of course. Why did you come back to the store that day? You could have done your shopping anywhere else. The question caught Andre off guard, though he'd asked himself the same thing. Honestly, I'm not entirely sure. I just felt like I needed to make sure you were both okay. Nicole nodded slowly. I'm glad you did. She hesitated, then added, after you left the first time, I kept thinking about what you said about your mom raising you alone. She worked 2 jobs most of my childhood, Andre said, the memories rising easily to the surface. Dealt with a lot of the same stuff you probably do. People thinking a woman on her own is somehow an invitation. It's exhausting, Nicole admitted. Always being on guard, always wondering if that friendly guy is actually friendly or if he wants something. Always worrying about what Lily is learning from watching me navigate it all. My mom worried about that too, Andre said. She used to tell me that how I saw her being treated would shape how I treated women when I grew up. She was right. Before Nicole could respond, Lily came bounding into the kitchen in pajamas decorated with stars, her hair wrapped in a towel. Andre, can you read my bedtime story tonight? Please? Nicole gave him a questioning look, leaving the decision up to him. I'd be honored, Andre said, as long as it's okay with your mom. 1 story, Nicole stipulated. Then it's lights out, young lady. Lily cheered and raced off to her bedroom to pick out a book. Nicole touched Andre's arm lightly. You don't have to if you don't want to. She can be pretty persuasive, Andre smiled. I noticed, but I really don't mind. Reading to Lily turned out to be an adventure in itself. She had strong opinions about how each character should sound and corrected Andre whenever he deviated from the established voices. By the time they reached the end of the story, a tale about a brave knight who saved a village without ever drawing his sword, Lily was fighting to keep her eyes open. Are you and Mommy going to be friends now? She asked sleepily as Andre tucked the blanket around her. I hope so, he answered honestly. Good, Lily mumbled, already drifting off. Mr. Hoppy likes you. Andre turned off the light and quietly closed the door, finding Nicole waiting in the hallway with a soft expression on her face. She's out like a light, he told her. I think I passed the bedtime story test. With flying colors, Nicole agreed. You're a natural. They moved back to the living room, the apartment quiet now except for the gentle hum of the refrigerator from the kitchen. Andre knew he should probably head home. He had early training tomorrow, but he found himself reluctant to leave. I got a call from the grocery store manager today, Nicole said as they sat on the couch. He wanted to let me know they've banned those 3 guys from the store. Apparently, several other customers had complained about them too. That's good news, Andre said. Did he say if they gave him any trouble about it? Nicole shook her head. Actually, he said they seemed almost relieved, like they knew they'd gone too far. The one named Denny even apologized. Really? Andre was surprised. That doesn't seem like the Denny I met. People can surprise you sometimes, Nicole said. Maybe being called out publicly made him think about his behavior. Andre wasn't so sure, but he hoped she was right. Just be careful if you run into them somewhere else. Men with bruised egos can be unpredictable. I've been dealing with difficult people my whole nursing career, Nicole reminded him. But I appreciate your concern. They talked for another hour, sharing stories from their lives, finding unexpected connections and similar experiences despite their different backgrounds. Andre told her about growing up in the South Side, about his mother's sacrifices to keep him in sports and away from the trouble that claimed many of his childhood friends. Nicole shared her journey through nursing school as a single mother, studying late at night after Lily was asleep. When Andre finally stood to leave, it was nearly midnight. I should go. I've got a 5 a.m. training session and my coach will kill me if I'm late. Of course, Nicole walked him to the door. Thank you for coming. It was nice to have an adult conversation for a change. The pleasure was all mine, Andre said, meaning it. Best meal I've had in months. They stood in the doorway for a moment, an unspoken question hanging in the air between them. Andre was acutely aware of how easy it would be to lean forward, to see if the connection he felt was mutual. Instead, he took a step back. "I'll text you the details about the tickets for Friday." Nicole nodded, something like understanding in her eyes. "We'll be there. Lily's already planning her outfit. Apparently Mr. Hoppy needs a special shirt for the occasion." Andre laughed. "Tell Mr. Hoppy I'll be looking for him in the crowd." As he drove home through the quiet streets, Andre found himself smiling. His life had taken an unexpected turn since that evening in the grocery store. What had started as a simple act of standing up for someone had somehow led to this, to tacos and bedtime stories and the possibility of something more. His phone buzzed with a text message. Expecting it to be Nicole, he was surprised to see it was from his coach. "Early session canceled tomorrow. Equipment issue at gym. Sleep in, champ." Andre sent back a quick acknowledgement, then impulsively pulled over and texted Nicole. "Coach just canceled morning training. Any chance you and Lily want to get breakfast before schoolwork tomorrow?" Her response came almost immediately. "Lily would love that." "So would I." As Andre pulled back onto the road toward home, he realized that for the first time in years he was thinking beyond his next fight. He was thinking about possibilities, about a future that included more than just training and competing. It was both terrifying and exhilarating. Whatever happened with his career, with Nicole and Lily, with the future, Andre knew one thing for certain. Sometimes the most important fights weren't the ones in the ring. Sometimes they were the quiet battles fought in grocery store aisles, standing up for what was right when it would have been easier to walk away. The downtown arena buzzed with energy as fight night approached. Backstage, Andre sat quietly in the locker room, his hands already wrapped, listening to the muffled roar of the crowd as earlier bouts played out. His coach moved around the small space, checking equipment and occasionally giving Andre a reassuring nod. It had been a whirlwind week since the dinner at Nicole's apartment. Breakfast the next morning had turned into lunch 2 days later, which had led to a trip to the park over the weekend. Lily had insisted on showing Andre her super special tree climbing skills, while Nicole watched with a mixture of pride and nervous energy that every parent seems to develop. 10 minutes. A production assistant called through the door, interrupting Andre's thoughts. His coach knelt in front of him, eyes serious beneath bushy gray eyebrows. "You ready, son?" Andre nodded. "Never been more ready." "Your focus this week has been the best I've seen," his coach said, surprise evident in his voice. "I thought that business at the grocery store might have thrown you off your game. Seems like it did the opposite." "I guess I found something worth fighting for," Andre replied simply. His coach studied him for a moment, then broke into a rare smile. "Well, whatever it is, hold on to it." "It's working." Andre thought about Nicole and Lily waiting somewhere in the arena. He'd left tickets for them as promised. Good seats? Close enough to see the action, but not so close that Lily would be overwhelmed by the more intense aspects of the fight. Time to go. The production assistant was back, holding the door open. Andre stood, rolled his shoulders, and took a deep breath. His opponent tonight was tough, undefeated in his last 6 fights with a reputation for aggressive striking. It would be a challenging match, potentially career-changing if Andre won. As he walked toward the arena, his entrance music began to play, a song his mother had loved, something with a steady beat and hopeful lyrics. The crowd's energy shifted, a wave of excitement rolling through the space as he emerged. The lights were blinding, the noise deafening, but Andre remained focused, scanning the section where Nicole and Lily should be seated. And there they were. Lily bouncing in her seat, holding Mr. Hoppy, who was indeed wearing what appeared to be a tiny handmade t-shirt. Nicole beside her, looking both nervous and proud. When their eyes met across the distance, she smiled and gave him a small wave. Lily, spotting him at the same moment, stood on her seat and waved with her whole arm, making Mr. Hoppy wave too. Andre couldn't help but smile as he made his way to the octagon. His coach caught the expression and followed his gaze to the pair in the stands. "Friends of yours?" he asked. "Family," Andre replied without thinking, the word feeling right as soon as he said it. The fight itself was a blur of focused intensity. Andre's opponent was every bit as skilled as expected, landing several hard shots in the first round that tested Andre's resolve. But there was a clarity to Andre's mind that night, a purpose that seemed to sharpen his reactions and strengthen his will. In the second round, Andre found his rhythm, using his reach advantage to keep his opponent at distance, setting up precise counterstrikes when the other fighter tried to close in. By the third round, the momentum had shifted decisively. Andre's opponent was tiring, his movements becoming predictable. The finishing sequence came halfway through the fourth round. A perfectly timed takedown followed by a submission hold that left his opponent no choice but to tap out. The arena erupted as the referee pulled Andre away, declaring him the winner. In the chaotic moments that followed, his coach rushing in, the announcer calling his name, the cameras capturing his victory, Andre looked again to where Nicole and Lily sat. Lily was jumping up and down, Mr. Hoppy clutched in her hands. Nicole was on her feet, clapping, her face shining with emotion even from a distance. Later, after the post-fight interviews and medical checks, Andre found them waiting in the designated area for fighters' families and friends. Lily launched herself at him the moment she saw him, seemingly unconcerned by his still sweaty appearance. "You won! You won! Mr. Hoppy knew you would!" she exclaimed, hugging his legs tightly. "Careful. Honey, he might be sore," Nicole cautioned. But she was smiling as she approached. "I'm okay," Andre assured her, even though he could already feel the bruises forming on his ribs and the slight swelling around his left eye. "Nothing serious." That was... Nicole searched for the right words. "Intense. Amazing. Terrifying. I don't know how you do it." "Years of practice," Andre said, shifting Lily to his hip despite his body's protests. "What did you think, Lily? Not too scary?" "It was awesome," Lily declared. "You're like a real superhero. I told everyone at school my friend is a champion fighter." "Not a champion yet," Andre corrected gently. "But maybe someday." Nicole's eyes met his over Lily's head. "I have a feeling someday might be coming sooner than you think." That man who interviewed you in the ring said something about title contention. Before Andre could respond, his coach appeared, followed by a man in an expensive suit whom Andre recognized as one of the promotion's executives. "There he is," his coach said proudly. "Andre, this is Mr. Walsh from Capital Fight Promotions. He has something he wants to discuss with you." Mr. Walsh extended his hand. "Impressive performance tonight, Andre, very impressive. We'd like to talk about getting you on the main card for our pay-per-view event next month. Potential title eliminator bout." Andre blinked, the words taking a moment to sink in. This was what he'd been working toward for years. A shot at the big leagues, a path to the championship. His coach was beaming, already talking about training schedules and opponent matchups. That's incredible," Andre managed to say, still holding Lily, who was watching the exchange with curious eyes. "Thank you for the opportunity. Thank yourself. You earned it." Mr. Walsh handed him a business card. "Have your management call me Monday to discuss details." He nodded politely to Nicole and Lily before disappearing back into the busy hallway. His coach clapped him on the shoulder. "This is it, kid. Everything we've been working for." He noticed Lily then, still perched on Andre's hip. "And who might this be?" "This is Lily," Andre said. "And her mom, Nicole. They're..." He paused, looking at Nicole, unsure how to define what they had become to each other in such a short time. "We're his friends," Nicole supplied simply. But her eyes told Andre there was more to the story, a story still being written. "Well, any friends of Andre's are friends of mine," his coach said, offering his hand to both of them. "You picked a good night to come to your first fight." After his coach left to handle some media requests, Andre, Nicole, and Lily made their way through the arena toward the exit. Fans stopped Andre for autographs and photos, many of them commenting on his performance with enthusiasm. Lily watched it all with wide-eyed fascination, occasionally whispering to Mr. Hoppy about how famous their friend was. Outside, the night air was cool and refreshing after the stuffy heat of the arena. Andre's car was parked in the VIP section, not far from where they stood. "I can give you a ride home," he offered, realizing suddenly how tired he was, the adrenaline of the fight finally wearing off. "Actually," Nicole said, "we thought maybe you'd like to come over for a late celebration dinner. Nothing fancy, just some pasta I prepared earlier. We can heat it up when we get home." She hesitated. "Unless you have other plans, of course. I'm sure there are parties or something for the fighters." "There are," Andre confirmed. "But I'd much rather spend the evening with you two." Lily, who had been slowly succumbing to sleepiness, perked up at this. "Can we watch a movie too, please? Let's see how tired everyone is when we get home," Nicole said. But her smile suggested she already knew they would end up on the couch with a movie playing. Home. The word echoed in Andre's mind as they walked to his car. It had been a long time since anywhere besides his own small apartment had felt like home. But somehow in the span of just 2 weeks, Nicole's place had started to feel that way. The drive was quiet. Lily falling asleep in the back seat clutching Mr. Hoppy, the events of the evening finally catching up with her. At a red light, Andre glanced over at Nicole in the passenger seat. "Thank you for coming tonight," he said softly. "It meant a lot." "We wouldn't have missed it," Nicole replied. "Though I have to admit, I closed my eyes a few times when things got intense." Andre laughed. "That's fair. It's not exactly a gentle sport. But it's your passion," Nicole observed. "I could see that tonight. The way you moved, how focused you were. It was like watching someone speak a language they were born knowing." Her understanding touched something deep in Andre. Most people saw fighting as simple violence, but Nicole had recognized the skill and dedication behind it. "That offer from the executive," she continued. "That's a big deal, isn't it?" "The biggest," Andre admitted. "It's what I've been working toward for years. A chance to fight on the main stage. Maybe even get a title shot eventually." "I'm happy for you," Nicole said, and he could hear the sincerity in her voice. "You deserve it." When they arrived at Nicole's apartment, Andre carried the sleeping Lily inside and gently laid her on her bed. Nicole removed her shoes and pulled the covers over her, placing Mr. Hoppy in the crook of her arm. In the kitchen, they moved around each other with an easy familiarity as they warmed up the pasta Nicole had prepared. Despite his strict post-fight diet plan, Andre couldn't bring himself to refuse the meal she'd made specially for him. "I have some news too," Nicole said as they sat at the small dining table, the apartment quiet around them. "I got a promotion at the hospital. Nurse manager for the pediatric unit." "Nicole, that's fantastic," Andre exclaimed. "You've been working toward that for a while, right?" She nodded, looking both proud and slightly overwhelmed. "It means more regular hours, better pay. Lily and I might even be able to move to a bigger place eventually." "You deserve it," Andre said, echoing her earlier words to him. "You're amazing at what you do." They ate in comfortable silence for a few minutes, both processing the changes happening in their lives. It struck Andre how different things were from just 2 weeks ago, when a chance encounter in a grocery store had set all of this in motion. "I've been thinking," he said finally, "about what happened at the store. About Denny and his friends." Nicole looked up, curious. "What about them?" "The manager called me yesterday. Apparently, Denny came back to the store alone. He wanted to apologize in person, but since we weren't there, he left a letter." Andre pulled a folded piece of paper from his pocket. "The manager gave it to me when I stopped by to pick up some protein bars." Nicole took the letter, her expression a mixture of surprise and wariness. "Have you read it?" Andre nodded. "It's addressed to both of us, but I wanted you to see it too." She unfolded the paper and read silently, her eyes moving across the page. When she finished, she looked up at Andre, her expression thoughtful. "Do you think he means it? About the anger management classes and wanting to apologize?" "I don't know," Andre admitted. "People can change if they want to badly enough, but it's hard work." Nicole refolded the letter and handed it back to him. "What are you thinking?" Andre considered the question. "I'm thinking that everyone deserves a second chance. That doesn't mean trusting him right away, but maybe hearing him out wouldn't be the worst thing." "The counselor in me agrees," Nicole said with a small smile. "The protective mom is more skeptical." "We don't have to decide anything tonight," Andre assured her. "We've both had pretty big days." Nicole reached across the table and took his hand, her fingers warm against his still sore knuckles. "Whatever we decide, we'll decide together. Together." Another word that felt right, that felt like home. Outside the window, the city lights twinkled against the night sky. In her bedroom, Lily slept peacefully, Mr. Hoppy keeping watch. And in the quiet of the kitchen, Andre and Nicole sat with their hands joined across the table. Two people whose lives had collided by chance, but who had chosen to stay connected. Sometimes the most important fights happen outside the ring. Sometimes the true measure of strength isn't in victory, but in how you use that strength to protect others. And sometimes the biggest wins come not from defeating an opponent, but from standing up for what's right, even when it would be easier to walk away.